morning. So what another beautiful day, but the sun is battering down on the plots the last couple of days, and we're not complaining because rain is again on its way. So last night I came over and I set up the lights in the polytunnel, and I just fitted them up on the actual crossbars, and then fitted it to the switch in the shed, and we have light in here. And I must admit, I came back over last night just to check how bright it was, and I must say that the plot, because I've got two spotlights on the outside of the shed, so if I ever come over and it's too dark in the winter I can put them on as well, and also in here. So outside it looked an absolute different world. It was so nice to see the plot actually illuminated at night, and then the polytunnel exactly the same. It was glowing and there's plenty of light. It isn't too much, but it's just enough that in the winter months when it's too dark I could just come over here, carry on doing my jobs, and everything will be done. So what I'm going to do today is, there is an abundance of tomatoes in here again. I have been harvesting and to be honest, I want them out now. So I'm going to harvest all the tomatoes within the next month. All of this is all going to be gone, and I've got so many plans for this polytunnel for autumn and winter. So the plan is that I'm going to take out the vines, mulch the beds, and I'll stay tuned for a future video about that, because there's a new way that I'm going to do it in the polytunnel this year. And then I'm going to plant all my spring cabbages all through here, and I'm going to actually grow them in here in a nice protected environment. I will put the extras out on the plot, and I think I might put some in the mini polytunnel down on the grapevine garden. But the majority are going to be planted in here, and hopefully they'll come nice into fruition by the end of, the spring, and it'll be ready again then for tomatoes and planting all my seeds. And as you know, this polytunnel in the spring was an absolute nursery full of plants, and I want to replicate that again. So I need to put all the staging back in then by the end of December, and this factory will start. And this is the thing I love about this polytunnel. It's such a game changer for the channel, because it keeps such a controlled environment that I can start things off a little bit earlier. And if you're considering getting a polytunnel, I would absolutely highly recommend one. What an amazing harvest of tomatoes again. Look at the Brad's Atomics. God, they're doing so well this year. I had another glorious harvest of Brad's Atomics yesterday, and they were absolutely glowing. Those Brad's Atomics that I picked yesterday, God, they looked, honestly, God, they looked from outer space. The colours on them were purples, greens, oranges, reds, and I actually find them really tasty. Some people say they're hit and miss, but for me, they are bang on the buck every single time. So what I'm going to do with all these tomatoes now is I'm going to make them into my beautiful ketchup that I either freeze or I put into bottles, and it lasts forever. It's absolutely stunning. I'll actually put the recipe in the description as well, so if you want to try it, but it is absolutely perfect. So there is plans for the polytunnel and this garden, the fig and olive, and I'm so excited to tell you those in the next couple of weeks. But I know that this garden is going to have a redesign. I like it how it is, but the one bed here is just too big, and the pumpkins have sprawled over and they've really benefited from it. But I think this could do with a nice redesign and be more beneficial to me, that I can be more manageable. And I love how it is. I love all the flowers. I love everything it is, but there needs to be a way that I can get into this jungle, because I can't seem to get into it. So the pumpkins are almost ready to harvest, and you'll know when, because the stem here will go a dark brown, and once that happens, and it's a little bit hollow inside, that's the telltale sign for them to harvest. A nice brown stem here, because that there's no more nutrient going in here. It's fully matured, and then it's ready to be cured inside the polytunnel greenhouse for about a week, and then it'll last all over winter. So we had a bit of a sandstorm this week, and as you can see, it's covered this pumpkin, but look at the size of it now. It is ginormous, but I'm really pleased. I wish I had more than that, but yeah, I'm happy with the harvest of pumpkins. And there's also a red curry squash here as well, so I'm happy with that. And as you can see, it's starting to brown a bit here now, so it won't be long before I can take that one off and cure it. So I think the idea that I've settled for is to have this as more manageable sized beds. So in the winter and maybe late autumn, I'm gonna redo all this and redesign this part of the plot. This is all beautiful. I love this. The archway staying. I've had so many people ask where this archway come from, and it is absolutely such a delight to have in the plot. And if you can see through here, my neighbours have already taken out those sunflowers that were huge, and all their beans have been dug into the ground here, and that's how they do it. They're a different style to me, but they dig it all in to feed the soil. I absolutely failed on the butternut squash this year. Not one butternut squash came, and I don't know why, because everything else worked okay. You can't have it right all the time. You know, sometimes it'll work, sometimes it won't, and that's just the fun of gardening. And allotments will never ever have everything perfect. When one thing works, like carrots, the cabbages will fail. If the potatoes work, the leeks might not, and that's just the way it goes. And the Greek gigantes that are growing on here, I have not harvested any. I'm leaving them to dry out on their pods, and inside here are the most meatiest, juiciest beans that you'll ever experience. They're really good at putting in casseroles, soups, and I've spoken to a few other gardeners and they've all said that it's kind of like a fleshy taste to them, and I'm really excited to try them. They're quite big, white, big beans. So the reason I haven't actually harvested any to try yet is I am going to try some through the winter, but mainly I'm growing them for seed. They're quite hard to get by, so I'm hoping that I'll replenish a good stock. I can share some to other people, as always. Gardeners do that all the time. Share. And then the rest then I'll use to plant out next year. So I've mentioned in other videos to make sure that you're saving seeds now. Let some beans go over. Let them dry out into like a papery texture. And then just save the beans. Don't collect them when they're green and then let them dry out. Let them dry out on the vines. You know then they fully matured, and then you can use the seed next year. I love how the plot holders now have taken all this out, and it's just opened up the view of this allotment site. And yeah, I just absolutely love the fact that I can just see all this at the back again now. So Sarah, as she sows, she grows, she sent me some seeds. Now they looked like this. They were very, very weird, brittle, hard seeds. And she told me not to put them in my mouth because otherwise I'll end up at the dentist. But they're growing these very strange. Let me show you if I can find one. Here you go. So I'll take one off. So these, I think you pronounce it like a chocha or coca. But apparently these you can open up and you can stuff them with cheese and roast them, and apparently they're supposed to be beautiful, but they smell of cucumber, and I don't like cucumbers, so I am deterred from trying these. But thank you so much, Sarah. I'll put a link to her channel in the description. But they were weird to try, but look at them. They're odd, but I like growing odd things, so it was a nice experience. The vine has gone absolutely crazy. It is actually taking over all this, and I can see there's another pumpkin growing in there. But yeah, overall, these kind of fruits, they're not for me, but they're weird, and apparently they're hit and miss to grow. But inside, let me show you, they're quite hollow and they smell of cucumber. So if you want to grow some of these and just to stuff them, then let me know and I can send you some seeds, because I've got quite a few here and I'm happy to share them on. The next plan in the autumn, when all this dies down, is the raspberry patch. And now there's trees growing in here, there's loads of weeds, and there's even another pumpkin. Pumpkins are taking over my plot, but all these raspberries have been moved from the front of the plot. And it's not so much that they're an issue here. They're on the path, you know, anyone can take them if they want, and I'm not bothered about sharing, but they're right there, and they're very tempting because the second cropping of these golden raspberries, and if you haven't tried them, I highly recommend these for a raspberry. If you're looking for a nice, sweet, juicy raspberry, don't worry about the red ones. Get these golden ones and you can make golden raspberry jam. And I made it this year, and oh my God, it was absolutely the best thing I've ever made. So at this time of year, you should be saving seed, making sure that you've got a good stock, and then start bringing in more compost, storing some, because you'll need to be mulching your bed soon, giving it a good feed over autumn and winter, ready for the spring. And that's what I always do. I always make sure all my beds are nicely fed through autumn and winter, ready for spring, whether it's manure, compost, you know, or just giving it a good mulch. then it's going to benefit that soil. But everything on here now, it's nuts that within a couple of weeks it's going to be flat to the ground. And you know what I'm like, I'm going to be so excited about redesigning this plot, make it even better than it is. And yeah, I'm excited for next year. I'm really excited for next year. I have to admit that the pond has been my most famous build this year. I have to admit that putting that in was an absolute asset, and I cannot wait for it to mature now within the next year, and it'll just fully flourish. I have got plans for it though, of course. I'm thinking in the autumn, another job for autumn, I'm going to actually move the liner a bit, dig it out even deeper, and then add some fish in, because you need it to be a certain depth for fish to survive. So I'm thinking I'm going to dig it even deeper, because I've got a lot of liner that I didn't cut off. I just rolled around the side, and I think I'm going to dig it deeper and make that even better than it is now. Everything can always be improved and changed, so don't think when you have a garden it has to stay as it is every year, year in, year out. Even if you've got all your beds laid out, mix them up a little bit, do you know what I mean? And just make sure that your plot is constantly exciting and appealing for you to visit. So I thought I'd buy a net for the pond so that I could actually scoop out all the leaves in the pond in autumn, because obviously they're all going to drop off that tree into that pond. So I paid a good bit of money for this. I mean, I'm talking about £13-14 for this net. And you know what they say, never trust the internet. What am I supposed to do with this? This is more like for the hedgehogs to go fishing. Look at it. But they do brag that it's extendable, so yeah, that's very handy. We've all done it though. We've all ordered things thinking that's a good bargain, and then it turns up and it's like dollhouse size. So lesson learnt, Danny boy, lesson learnt. So my plan for all the dahlias is to dig them up when they go dormant, put them into the polytunnel in pots. I've got a video coming up about that as well, because I actually am really excited about some products that I want to try, and they're going to be used for overwintering all the dahlias that are inside this jungle. Oh, and look, I've not seen this one this year, so I'm not actually sure what this is, but I've not seen this flower. This is just actually surface. Oh, I think is an actual variation of nasturtium. Yeah, it is. So that's creeping in there as well. There's always surprises in here. I dread to think what's underneath there. One thing that I've got really good at this year is labelling. I have actually nailed it now. So these beans were given to me by Duncan at Coastal Garden, North Wales. I put a link to his channel in the description as well. And these are speckled cranberry beans. And I've been harvesting and harvesting these. But these ones, look how beautiful they are. These ones are actually good for picking now. But I'm actually leaving all these again to save seed, and they'll dry out on the vines, just like this one here. And it's hollow, and you shake the beans so you know it's ready. And now I can take this one off, take out the beans, put it in a nice airtight container, no moisture, label it up, and use these again next year. I think we get in a habit though of buying seeds all the time, and I mean, I think it's absolutely criminal that every year we buy more runner beans and French beans and all the other seeds that you could have actually just saved from the year before. So just be mindful now that just do it. It'll save you so much money, because seeds are just going to go up and up. And if you're in the UK, you know that we're losing Wilko. And I'm actually really upset about that, because Wilko was a good supplier for seeds, quite good prices, and they always had the potatoes. They always had a good stock of gardening equipment as well. So I'm very disappointed, because my concern is that without Wilko, the others are now going to be more competitive, and they might even put their prices up, because Wilko always kept them to a good standard and to a good price. So I'm a bit worried about that now. So save the seeds, and then also save yourself money for next year. The sweet peas just keep giving and giving and giving. These were planted out in March, and I mean, I've saved so much seed, but there's still piles more on you. But these, look at them, still full of flowers, and they just sit there right in between the honker black dahlias as well from Farmer Gracie. But I'm just absolutely thrilled by these. So I've also got to make sure that I protect this banana tree as well. This has become a bit of a feature on the plot, and lots of people comment about it. but it's actually done really well here. You know, it's had a bit of a battering, and we've had a scorching, and we've had a lot of rain, and we've had a lot of wind, but it's done all right. You know, it's done okay here. It's done better than I thought. But what I'll need to do is, in the winter, well, just before winter, I bend all these leaves back to insulate it, wrap it with fleece, bubble wrap, plastic, to make sure no rain gets in the top and then freezes and splits it and actually kills it. So that's one way of protecting your banana plant. But the other option I got is that I can dig it out, move it into the polytunnel and wrap it as well. I might do that because I'm a little bit worried about it being killed off, because they are a little bit vulnerable in the winter. The same applies for the purple magnolia peas. I'm leaving these on the pot. They've been on here for months and months, and I've had so many harvests. But again, I'll leave these now on the vines to dry out, and then again, more seed for next year. If you've got seedlings in your polytunnel, obviously make sure they're having a good hydration now with all this heat. And I mean, they've had a bit of a drought for a while, but make sure that they're all nice and watered. A polytunnel can be your best friend, but it can also be your worst nightmare. So I hope you like those little tips and the look around the garden today. And I'm sorry I haven't done much gardening, it's just too warm. But next week, full steam ahead. I'm Danny, and this is The Grapevine Garden.